Welcome back, everyone. Hope you all doing well this week. This is Ryan back with another video on my outlook for the index futures market. As a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give out financial advice. This video is for entertainment purposes only. These are going to be my personal opinions. Please don't use them to take a trade on your own. Okay, so Michael Huddleston, ICT, he put out a market review this weekend going over his idea of the market. And I've seen it. It makes me really happy to see that a lot of what he said have been agreeing with what I've been saying for the past couple of weeks. So this week I want to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to do something that ICT didn't cover, which is taking a look at the economic calendar and using it to anticipate a potential weekly profile for this week. Now, just to be clear, I'm not trying to one-up ICT or even compare myself to him. ICT has been the largest influence in my trading, and I highly, highly respect the guy. So I'm just trying to bring something a little bit extra that he didn't cover so we can all kind of share some ideas and get a better picture of the market. Okay, here we have the dollar index on the weekly chart. Down here is the monthly BISI that I've been mentioning for the past couple of weeks. And my draw-on price is up here to this SIBI on the weekly. But it's kind of far away, so I just want to focus in on the short-term price action here. So let's zoom in a little bit. So we see price trade down into the monthly BISI and then come up through the weekly SIBI here, denoted by the two red lines. It traded up, back into it, and then this week it closed above last week's high and above the weekly SIBI. So I want to see this weekly SIBI act as support still. Last week I mentioned that I want to see price stay within the upper half of the SIBI, which it did. It never got below 50% of it, which is great. So three important price levels that I'm looking for as support. I'm going to be looking at half of this wick. This is the last week's candle, half of it. Going to be around 102.4-ish. Then the top part of the weekly SIBI, I want to see this act as support as well. And then here, I don't really want to see halfway be traded to, but maybe 75% of it. So these three price levels I want to see as support. On the upside, we see this old weekly SIBI here. I don't really want to see too much resistance from here. Maybe it'll act as a speed bump, but I really want to see the draw on liquidity go above the weekly relative highs here. And this is also something that ICT mentioned in his video. He also wants to see bullishness on the dollar index, and he mentioned these relative highs as well. Now, if you look at my previous videos, I mentioned this back when price was trading here. I mentioned that I want to see price draw above these relative highs. And then above here, we have halfway point of this wick and halfway of this up candle. Now, I do have two purple lines here. It's kind of hard to see, but I drew both of these out and they line up very well, and they both reside above the weekly relative highs. So if price would draw up and take out the weekly highs here, I can see price reaching up, hitting the midpoint here. And then above here, we have a weekly rejection block and an old high. These are higher targets. I wouldn't be surprised if price goes up there, but it's kind of hard to imagine that it's going to go up that far, but it is possible. But my short-term objective, I want to see these highs broken. Jumping into the daily chart, we see that price traded up into the daily SIBI, came back down, traded into the weekly SIBI, and then that was the start of last week. From there, price traded up again into the daily SIBI and came back down on Thursday to retest the weekly SIBI and then closed in the daily SIBI above the week's highs. So I did mention August could be somewhat of a consolidation. That's what we saw last week. Didn't have too much movement, just jump between these two PD arrays. I had this crude drawing of what I thought price could do, and so far it's performed just the leg here where it came back down to retest the weekly SIBI and then is going up. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, with that gone, I just want to point out the three support levels again. Right here, the purple level, this is going to be that weekly wick, the middle part of it, the upper part of the weekly SIBI, and the yellow line is going to be 75% of it. I want to see these three levels as support. On the daily, we can see that Thursday we had a pretty big wick here. I would add this, in fact, let's go ahead and do it. We want to look at half of this wick as well as another key support level right here, 102.133. I want to also see this as a potential support level on the daily. And then this old weekly SIBI could act as a speed bump still, but I want to see it go through it and into the relative highs here. And I had mentioned on the weekly, this level here is going to be half of the wick and half of that up close candle. And then above it, the weekly rejection block here and the old high eventually. So right now I want to jump into the economic calendar. Last thing I want to mention before we jump into the economic calendar, I want to mention that I had drew out these lows right here and compared it to the index. Remember that this was my SMT divergence with the S&P 500. We expected S&P 500 to create a lower high, which it did not. It actually created a higher high. So we had S&P divergence of the dollar index to the S&P 500. I don't think ICT mentioned this. He did mention the ES compared with the Nasdaq for SMT divergence, but he didn't actually mention comparing it with the dollar index. I could be wrong. I'll have the link in the description. You can take a look to see exactly what he said, but I'm pretty sure he didn't mention this, and I just want to point this out. Okay, so this is the economic calendar on investing.com. I put in the filter for US only and for medium and high impact news because those are the times where we want to see when volatility is going to be injected into the market. And looking at this week, we start on Tuesday. So Monday, there's no meaningful news. Tuesday, we have a couple high impact at 8:30. Then Wednesday, we do have an 8:30 high impact news, but the more important one is 2 o'clock. We have FOMC. So this is going to be very key, and we want to pay attention to this. Then Thursday, 8:30, we have a couple more high impact. And then Friday, just a few medium impact towards the afternoon. So let's see how we can use this information to create a potential weekly profile. Okay, so coming back to dollar index, we're wanting to look at a potential weekly profile. And the first one I always try to look for is the classic Tuesday low or high of the week. So Monday will be somewhat of a consolidation. Then Tuesday, let's say for this instance, we're looking for a low of the week. So I want to see Tuesday drop down to create the low of the week. Then Wednesday, Thursday, I want to see expansion upwards. And then maybe some retracement back down with some consolidation towards the end. So this is your classic power 3 formation. You have your consolidation, your manipulation here, your expansion, and then distribution towards the top. And we'll use, how can we use this to compare? Well, we looked at the news. We know that Monday, there's not any high impact news. So we can see that Monday will probably form this consolidation area. So let's say on the chart, we have Monday consolidating. Then Tuesday, we do have a high impact news. Let's say we bring it down to, let's just go to the top of the weekly SIBI. Remember these support points, it could be any one of these, so we just want to keep an eye out, but anticipate price dropping down to one of these support levels. And then Wednesday we have FOMC. That is a high impact news, so I think Wednesday morning could be kind of quiet, anticipating the afternoon. And then FOMC, it's kind of a wild card. We don't really know what it's going to do. But let's say we follow this power of three, Wednesday could expand upwards and maybe even continue into Thursday to take out those relative highs that we wanted, and then some retracement back on Friday with very minimal news, maybe even down back to the old weekly SIBI. So this could be a potential market profile with classic Tuesday low of the week. But let's say, I'll give you another one. Let's say we don't have that Tuesday low week because we have FOMC. So the day before FOMC, we may have a quiet day as well. Well, if that's the case, we can have consolidation on Monday and Tuesday. So let's say Tuesday maybe it goes down a bit, but it's kind of consolidation Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, we get that manipulative move down with FOMC. And then we have the expansion on Thursday, maybe looking for the relative highs, and then come back down Friday. But either way, I'm looking for consolidation early in the week. Sometime in the middle of the week, I see a manipulative move down to some of the support levels, and then a big expansion up into the relative highs. That's where I'm going to be looking for my target to be, and then retracement back down towards the end of the week, generally on Friday. So this is another potential Wednesday low of the week weekly profile that we could potentially have. So now let's take a look at the indexes and translate this information over to the indexes. Okay, here we have the weekly chart for ES. Last week it didn't really do much. It pretty much just consolidated, but I do like seeing that price close below the weekly BISI here. Not much has changed in terms of my drawing. I'm still looking for price to draw into this weekly BISI. And you'll see that ICT also mentioned this as the draw on liquidity as well. There is a smaller BISI here. I didn't label this, and neither did ICT. This could act as a speed bump as we reach for here. But this is the one I'm looking for because the range from this high to this low, this is about halfway. So this is pretty reasonable in terms of where we think price should want to go to. We have a weekly swing low here. I marked this out as the sell side liquidity, and these two red candles, I've marked out the middle point of these as well, as these are the mean threshold of the order blocks. So let's go into the daily and take a look. Oh, before I forget, I also marked out half of this wick, and we'll see if that affects us at all when we go down to the daily. Okay, I have us zoomed in on the daily chart for ES. And here's going to be our draw on liquidity. Remember, this is that weekly BISI that I'm looking for price to draw down into. We see the higher high here when dollar index made a higher low. This is going to be that S&T divergence. And we'll see it again in Nasdaq, where Nasdaq produced a lower high. And I mentioned this in my previous two videos as well. Price has come down, and last week consolidated a little bit and then drew down and closed below the weekly SIBI here, denoted by the two green lines. This is my crude drawing of what I thought price was going to do. So far, it's only done the first leg. Price came down and tested the daily BISI here. And remember, this is the 4461. This is going to be that mean threshold on the weekly down close candle. So price just tapped it. So we can still see price go up and retest the weekly BISI here. And then eventually I want to see price go through the sell side liquidity here. So let me get rid of this drawing real quick. Okay, with the drawing gone, let's take a look at some key levels. So this weekly BISI, I don't mind if price trade back into it. I have the halfway point of this wick, this daily wick drawn out. I don't really want to see price go above it too much. Maybe trade up to it, but that will be it. Other than that, I want to see price go down through the daily BISI here and go below to trade below the sell side. And remember, this is going to be that weekly swing low. Below here, I can even see price reaching for this low down here. And eventually this is our target. But on the upside, I'm not seeing too much resistance. Just this wick really, maybe the top of this, but that would not be ideal. I don't really want to see price go above this daily, weekly BISI again, but it could happen. Just want to keep an eye out. Remember, because of the S&P divergence, S&P is stronger than the Nasdaq. So if we're looking for the downside, I would want to see more exaggerated move in the Nasdaq. As for our weekly profile, Monday should be a consolidation day, so we'll have some kind of consolidation. Then we want to see that high of the week on either Tuesday or Wednesday. Just want to keep an eye out, but maybe reach as far as half of that wick. And then Thursday, I want to see it drop down, taking out the sell side liquidity. If it gets really exaggerated, it could take out the second level of sell side, but I just want to be conservative and just aim for the lower one, the closer one. And then some retracement Friday, maybe back up into this daily BISI here. So this is kind of what I want to see price do from a weekly profile point of view. On the weekly chart for Nasdaq, not much has changed. Pretty much exactly the same. Price came up, went through the weekly BISI here, looking for sell side liquidity below the swing low, and I want to see price draw into this weekly BISI. So not too much change. Let's just go into the daily chart and take a closer look. So here on the daily, we can see similar to the ES, we had that Thursday wick, which I drew out 50% of. I do want to see this as a resistance point this week. We've already went into the sell side down here, so this signals a weekly market structure shift. It didn't close below it, but I anticipate that it will. If it does, then I'm going to be looking for the next swing low here as my sell side. And the large green box here, this is going to be my ultimate draw on liquidity on the downside. So from a weekly profile, we can anticipate consolidation Monday, maybe something like this. Tuesday or Wednesday, we want to see price draw up. I want to see half of this wick prove itself as resistance, and then an expansion down Thursday below the sell side liquidity here. And then Friday, come back some, maybe back to this old high, old low, or somewhere in here. So classic Tuesday high of the week is what I expect for both the ES and for the Nasdaq. And lastly, you can see the lower high that I mentioned before, S&P divergence, so Nasdaq should be expected to be weaker. Okay, so this is my outlook for the week. I hope you all got something out of it. Please share your ideas in the comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think is going to happen in the market. Also, check out the ICT video and see what he has to say. He breaks things down into the lower time frame, and maybe you can overlay some of the market profile that I gave you to see if it lines up to what he has to say. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next week.